Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think that in our situation, it's sort of, you know, by the time we'd finished with Warner's, there was only really one thing for us to do, and that was to release our own music. You know, I think the band itself, we come from a bit of a punk rock background, and a major label wasn't necessarily the right home for us in the beginning anyway. You know, and I think it was a chance for us to feel a lot more comfortable in our own, with our own music and the way that it was going to reach people, you know, and it was also the right time in terms of the musical climate as well. You know, it's never been, I don't think it's ever been more attainable for someone to self-release successfully their own music. And I think that Alison raised a good point about music being released outside of Britain. You know, I think we on this new record that we've released, we've licensed it in America, and we've exported it in Europe.
Have you licensed it for everything, for the digital rights and the physical rights?
Yeah,
or
we have, yeah.
You have, okay.
Yeah, and there's like a separate American link on our MySpace to a different digital provider and stuff to reflect that.
Because again, you know, that's another facet of licensing. You know, you could effectively, only in certain instances, give people the rights for the physical product.
Yeah.
But obviously, if that company are prepared to put the money in to promote your product, they're going to want the digital rights as well. But you know, if you're Radiohead, you might want to put your own record out, give it away digitally, and then, you know, license the physical rights and whatever else to one of your members, Alison.
Quite simply, the answer to that is it entirely depends on who you are.
Exactly. Market forces as well.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, I think Martin Mills, particularly one of Alison's biggest members, has kept his digital rights, hasn't he?
Always, yeah.
So what because you don't want to be, you can be in a situation in Europe, you've licensed the physical album to 5 different groups of territories, and they all want digital rights. Well, that's insane almost these days. I mean, you can do it in America probably, but why you'd have 5 different digital providers, record companies, just in Europe, when they're all supplying the same track to the same people, is crazy. So you really, if you keep your digital and just do one deal, then that's fine, and then you can do individual physical deals. Again, I just want to
Go back
here. I went to a thing called Unconvention recently in Macclesfield, which was great fun. They started doing these sort of things like this in reaction to how expensive some of the other ones were. And they had a very interesting concept. They don't refer to it as do it yourself anymore, they refer to it as do it together. And I think that's a very interesting way of looking at it. As I was talking before, if you don't want to do it yourself, you will find people, and there's a lot of them, who are all willing to help you do different bits. You know, you will find someone who wants to manufacture CDs, but you will, I think what we're seeing is a sort of a rebuilding of the music business, so that you will find people who will deal with all the admin for you and be your digital person. You will find people who design sleeves and that, and the fact that, which always was the case, I suppose, with sleeves, but there are a lot of people who can help you do this. AIM, the MMF, and even the collecting societies that used to be a bit standoffish and wouldn't deal with you unless you were a proper label, have now had to embrace the fact that you put out a record and you are a proper label. You're just a small proper label, and that's it's very interesting the way that that's all changed, frankly.
Without naming names, and just going back to you again, are there any people in your band that would be absolutely hopeless at running a record label, or does everybody have an equal input? I mean, so do you
Three of them.
Always the drummer, isn't it? Always. But saying that, like, he's the only one that's gone off and done any other sort of musical project outside the band. So I think that all of us, to varying extents, were really kind of headstrong in terms of wanting to do it like this. You know, wanting to be empowered a little bit more and wanting to have that sort of just that sort of knowledge, no matter what, that we've retained copyright, we own the recordings, and that we're doing it on our own terms.
But as a band, is there one person who's better at picking up the phone and sorting out the gigs, or dealing with a manager, and is one person better dealing with the artwork, is another one better dealing with logistics, or does it work like that or not?
I think it always does with bands, you know. I think that it's sort of someone will be really good at you know, the logistic elements of going on tour, who needs what, where, gear, that kind of thing, and someone else will be thinking about the more creative elements, you know, and as long as there's a good balance, you'll do all right in that respect, you know. And I think that we've always managed to make it work. I think it's just a matter of being respectful to these people, you know, and kind of like not thinking that you know it all the time, you know, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned. In fact, like releasing our third album, the first one that we did on Null Records, was an enormous learning curve in terms of what territories worked for us, what sort of methods of releasing our music we'd looked to in the past, and also how much money we spent on doing certain sort of promotional things that you would just take for granted on a major, you know, like say the album chart show, TV program, you know, like the amount of money that it costs in terms of, you know, crew wages, gear hire, travel, to do a program like that versus the relatively minuscule spike in your sales or whatever that you see. On this record, we've decided to be a little more selective about what promo stuff we do, because if you look after the pennies, the pounds take care of themselves, don't they?